Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Irvine International Academy regular board meeting. Today is Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. The time is 6:02 p.m. We are located at Irvine International Academy, 4782 Karen Ann Lane, Irvine, California, 92604. We may have a teleconference location located at 6833 Buswell Street, Richmond, British Columbia, B6YOL3 in Canada. I'd like to start with roll call. Molly?
Present.
Felipe?
Present.
Brett is present. David?
Present.
Miller? Is absent. Okay, next, the approval of the agenda for the regular meeting of the Irvine International Academy Board of Directors on May 20th, 2025. It's recommended the Board of Directors approve the agenda for the regular meeting of the Irvine International Academy Board of Directors on May 20th, 2025. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, David. Is there a second? Molly? Without any remote personnel or board members, so we'll take just an all in favor aye or nay vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, to say nay. Hearing none, it passes. Next, we have community input on closed session agenda items. Members of the public may comment on items listed on the closed session agenda only. Public comments, including email comments, shall be limited to 3 minutes per comment with up to 20 minutes of public comments.
We have no comments for closed session.
Okay. Next, we're moving to closed session for discussion of possible action. The topic is the public employee evaluation for the executive director. Hopefully should be back within 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you all. And thank you everyone for your patience. We're reconvening at the Irvine International Academy board meeting. The time is 6:50 p.m. Basically, the report out is that we've started the review process for the current executive director in terms of her evaluation, and we will, over the course of the month here, complete that evaluation. We'll plan to complete that by the next board meeting, which right now says June 17, but will be rescheduled to June 10. Okay, next, moving on to the flag salute. Today I'd like to volunteer for that, if that's okay. If everyone would please stand. We have our flag here to our left, to your right. Please put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, next we have public hearings. Public hearing presentation of the IAA LCFF budget overview for parents 2024-2025 annual update and 2025-2026 local control and accountability plan known as the LCAP. It's recommended the board director, the board president open the public hearing, determine if members of the public have submitted requests to speak on the item, and after hearing any speakers, formally close the public hearing. I believe we do have some speakers, correct?
Yes, Ms. Trump.
Okay, Ms. Craft, are you ready? We'll give you time to prepare whatever you need. We will open this here at 6:52 p.m.
Thank you so much. Okay. Okay, thank you for the opportunity to share public comments this evening. I'm here in my capacity as the School Site Council Chair to comment on LCAP and the 2025-26 budget. I have appreciated the opportunity to serve our community in this capacity, and I'm pleased to report that we had 3 very productive meetings throughout the school year. Our last meeting of the school year was last Thursday, May 15th. I'm encouraged by the progress we have seen and improvements in school climate and culture from meeting to meeting. I'm encouraged by the commitments made by our administration to make improvements in planning, communication, and staff support, and I truly appreciate the open door policies. The intent of these meetings, school site council meetings, is to review and vet the school safety plan, review the parent, student, teacher compact, and to go over LCAP goals. Another important purpose of SSC serves Another important purpose SSC serves is ensuring that the voices of our community members are heard and directed to the proper channels for dialogue and problem solving to ensue for the betterment of our IIA community. You will hear from parents tonight, and you have been hearing from them throughout the year through various channels available to them. Specific to LCAP in the 25-26 budget, I'd like to touch upon our enrollment numbers. In my capacity as school site council, I have raised concern about enrollment numbers at the January 25th board meeting via public comments, February 11th LCAP advisory meeting, February 20th coffee with principal, March 6th school site council meeting, March 11th LCAP advisory meeting, March 18th board meeting via public comments, the April meeting, and the May 15th school site council meeting. My request was that we establish an enrollment cap, no more growth, and be mindful of the impact of increasing enrollment has on our community, culture, and our ability to deliver a high-quality immersion experience for our students. I have since reviewed our charter and see that pages 19 and 147 stipulate that IIA will be at full enrollment at 440 students. That's stated in our charter. That number was surpassed, and our forecasted enrollment for next school year is 171 students above what the charter stipulates. My question to you is, why are you allowing this to happen? It's your responsibility to adhere to and uphold our charter. Such an increase above full enrollment ought to trigger a material revision to the charter. What assurances do we have that there will be improvement that comes with the growth, as opposed to the many challenges we have faced this year stemming from too much growth? Thank you.
Good evening. Thanks for giving me a chance to speak. I piggybacking on the LCAP about enrollments. This year is coming to an end and we all survived, and that's a wonderful thing. The beginning of the year with all the transitions was really rocky. From what I understand, we were capped, you guys were supposed to cap it at 510. It was allowed to go up to 540. So this whole year, the fifth graders, and it's gonna be changed next year, got lumped into middle school. So instead of having an English teacher, a Mandarin teacher, and then a switch and a homework packet, they were just launched into the world of Google Classroom, 6 different classes, homework here, homework there, excessive Chromebook use. We have people on parent chat talking about videos being sent. I honestly feel like fifth grade really lost the year that's supposed to be elementary. And in addition to that, there was an RTI period. It's not going to come back next year, but I bring this up to say that every day my kids are in school, they're in 5th grade and 6th grade. They get 45 minutes of study hall because I guess administration couldn't figure out like when this period would happen for people who are English or Mandarin learners. And it's full of Chromebook. And so that's just, as a parent, like very concerning. But what really hurts the most is when this got brought up and I met with principal, the vibe was basically that this is what it is. We're preparing them for middle school, and now we're hearing that that's not how 5th grade was supposed to be. It was Dr. Bean who had it that way, which I don't know if it's true or not, but that's what the enrollment numbers did. And I really, really want to hesitate in sharing this video, but I just want you to know my kid is an IEP student and he suffered a lot at the beginning of the year because he like literally. So he was probably like that the first month of school because he went from 4th grade in that structure to boom, you're in middle school and homework's everywhere, mental breakdown. And it's just, it shouldn't have been that way. So thank you for hearing me out.
No more for the
Okay, so, public hearing closed at 6:58 p.m. Next, moving on to the public hearing, presentation of the IA 2025-2026 budget. Recommended the board president open the public hearing, determine if members of the public have submitted requests to speak on the item, and after hearing any speakers, formally close the public hearing.
First open it.
Okay, are there any?
There.
There are none. Okay. We'll open the public hearing at 6:58 p.m. Hearing that there are no speakers, we're closing it at 6:58 p.m. Moving to community input on agendized items, the public may comment on items listed on the agenda, including the consent calendar, presentation, discussion, committee, and action items. Are there any public comments?
Yes, we have two. So, Ms. Kraft.
Are general public comments happening at the end today or?
Yeah, yeah, as for the agenda.
Okay, thank you once again for the opportunity to share public comment. Truthfully, I would really prefer to comment at the time the agenda item comes up, which is the governance handbook. But I'll go ahead and share now because the purpose of sharing during the agenda item is for us to hear board comments in response to the public comment share. Okay, so with regard to the governance handbook, I would like to appeal to this board for there to be opportunity for parents in our community to apply for open IIA board seats. In the spirit of our charter, this opportunity should be available for our English speakers as well as our non-native English speakers alike. The board bylaws have changed and now stipulate a more formal process for declaring interest. The process is overseen by a recently formed, fall of 2024, governance committee that Dr. Kernan is part of. We have parents that are interested in serving on the IIA board and would like to step up in this capacity. With the updated bylaws and IIA board governance document and Dr. Kernan listed as a member of the governance committee on the IIA website, there is concern that candidates will be handpicked based on a desire to appease the executive director rather than selected based on qualifications and an earnest desire to uphold the charter, scrutinize where warranted, problem solve, and self-reflect on board performance. I ask for your assurance that this will not be the case, and I kindly request clear direction be given to those interested in applying and that there be transparency in the board member selection process. Thank you.
And Ms. Lily.
Hi again. I'm speaking today on agenda item 1, governance. I'd like to ask the board to seriously reflect on whether the current structure allows for meaningful parent involvement and transparency. As the updated bylaws now state, the governance committee currently made up of board president Brett Freeman, board member Molly Chang, and executive director Amy Kernan holds the power to screen and decide which candidates move forward in the board nomination process. That means someone like Tiffany Kraft, who spends countless hours attending board, SSC, and LCAP meeting, and who is deeply trusted by the parent community, could be blocked from even being interviewed, not because she isn't qualified, but because of gatekeeping. We were told at Coffee with the Principal that the governance committee process was longstanding and neutral, but these bylaws were just approved on April 29th. That's misleading at best. And the fact that the executive director who reports to the board sits on the committee that determine who joins the board is a clear conflict of interest. I don't know any of you guys at all. I mean, I know you a little bit, Felipe, I don't. So I think with the school, what's most important is the student and teachers, right? We don't need to talk about a bunch of things. Everything is just noise unless it affects the students and the teachers. But who knows the students and the teachers best? The parents do. And if the parents don't feel they have a voice, like we have nowhere to go. We feel really stuck right now. If you want one illustration, the sex ed issue, which I'm not going to talk about tonight, I brought it up in September at Coffee with the Principal. Dr. Kernan and Mr. Schmitter heard me. Then I never got a response. I didn't feel like they really cared. So then I spoke to you guys, directly to you, Mr. Freeman, at the October board meeting. No, I understand it's not a time to dialogue right now, but no recourse, no one got back to me, nothing. cut to May, the curriculum they picked is the one I was scared of, plus half of the class, more than half the class opt out, including one person who opted out is a student because she told her mom it's too inappropriate, so please sign her out of the class. So she didn't finish the class. So as you can see, this kind of pattern, like, where do we go? Like, you guys are kind of like our line, and if we don't have anyone who we feel advocates for us, and there's no real way in, and believe me, I don't want to be there. What voice do we have? So please, I really hope that however the selection process is more fair, so people that actually represent the voice of the students who actually know what's going on in and out that affects the students are sitting there. Thank you.
Okay, can I speak on that? I know I didn't sign up to breach of decorum. Can I speak for just a minute? Yeah, if you want to speak at the public comments, you're more than welcome to wait. At the end of the meeting, we have other public comments to read, and we welcome your.
Yeah, I will speak on that about something else.
Your feedback. Okay, moving on next to items for consent. Okay, we've got two items here. Approve the minutes from the regular meeting of the IA Board of Directors on April 29, 2025, and approve the personnel report. It's recommended the Board of Directors approve consent items A through B. Is there a motion?
Sorry, Miller also joined, at, down, 6:53.
Perfect, thank you.
So we'll have to do a roll call.
We'll do a roll call vote. Thank you. Is there a motion?
I'll motion, so.
Thank you, Felipe. Is there a second? Thank you, David. Okay, we'll do roll call vote. Molly?
Yes.
Felipe?
Yes.
I'm a yes. David?
Yeah.
Miller?
Yes.
Thank you very much. It passes. Moving next, items for presentation. We've got our school update by Principal Schmidt.
You can share the screen, I can put it up on the tab.
Good evening. Just some quick updates. It's only been a few weeks, but a lot's going on. I'll kind of keep it brief, just kind of giving you a quick overview of what's been done and then kind of a look for what's going to be happening. So we've just about finished our CAPS testing. It's gone very smoothly. And overall, the general feedback from the students is that they felt prepared for the test. So that's one thing that we always like to hear is from the students, whether, did you feel like you were prepared? We're not unprepared, but the general feedback from the students is that they felt prepared. So as we get that data, we're working on it. So we don't really have a full picture yet, but we'll be getting that. I do have an update too, but our Mandarin data that has come in, Apple testing, and also our level learning data is very encouraging. Ms. Zhang, our AP, she'll give some more details on that at our parent workshop on May 29th. But we have a number of students who actually are receiving a seal of biliteracy. I believe it was 8 students, as well as 8 students received the seal of biliteracy. That's a new thing that we've been able to do this year because we've done the Apple testing. And when we look at the overall proficiency of where the students are at, the school, I believe was it, do you remember the percent? It was well over 40%, but it's getting close to 50% overall as a school. And our kindergarten class, our new, a lot of our newest students were at 78% of students who were at the proficiency level. So what we're seeing is that our proficiency in Mandarin overall is going up. So we're encouraged by that. And so as we get the CAPS data, our Mandarin data, we'll be doing a deep dive into all of it this summer, just to kind of see what are some areas of strength, what are some areas of weakness, and what can we do as a school to adjust that. Especially since as a school, our EL population has been growing. So because of that, we want to make sure we're meeting the needs of all our students, and if we need to adjust that, we'll adjust that. Also, there's a lot of planning underway for the year-end events. So next week, Ms. Shen has her spring recital. We have a field day for our students being planned on June 4th. And then we have a day of promotions on our last day of school, June 5th. Our kindergartners, 5th graders, and 8th graders are all gonna have a promotion ceremony. So there's a lot going on with that. And then right now too, it's a lot of work actually looking at planning for next year, schedules and raw staffing and all that. So we're a lot further ahead of the game this year. We'll have field trips, a list of field trips before school gets out. We can plan those for next year, calendar it, get that work underway. So by doing all this work now and getting things done in summer, we'll have a very smooth launch next school year. So we're getting ahead on that planning. So we're excited about that as well. All right, and kind of looking ahead, there's some older things on there, but we do have our last ELAC meeting this Thursday. So I encourage those of you who either are have an EL learner or have is interest in it. I encourage you to come out this Thursday. It's our last ELAC meeting at 3:15. Mrs. Brown's going to be giving a lot of updates about our EL program. So I encourage everyone to come to that. This Thursday, we also have our after-school performing arts class putting on a show. If you look around, you can see some of the sets that they'll be working on. So we're excited about that. We've been working with them to make sure that we're ready to go, but I know the kids are excited. They were just rehearsing in here before our board meeting. About 45 minutes before our meeting, you would not know that there was a board meeting happening, but they're working hard. So the kids are ready for that. We do have our spring recital next Wednesday by Ms. Shen, and then that parent meeting I talked about with Ms. Zhang next Thursday. And then obviously our last day of school and promotions on June 5th. So we're a little over 2 weeks away from the end of the school year. There's a lot going on in that 2-week window. So we're getting everything good, ready for that, and also looking ahead to next school year.
I got a couple of questions for you.
All right.
Real quick. So could you expand a little bit more on that? Mandarin, seal, what was that?
Still by literacy.
Seal by letters. Could you expand a little bit more?
So there are certain requirements that the state of California gives special recognition to students who are determined to be biliterate. So that's where the seal by literacy comes from. In order to do that, they have to meet certain criteria. And so because we are doing Apple testing this year, that is one way for students to meet that criteria. So it's a recognition by the state for our students who qualified for that. So think of it as like a special award from the state recognizing students for their knowledge in both languages.
Right. And so we got 8 students who achieved that award this year,
Yes.
right? And as I understand it, there's also like a secondary thing. There's like a path of biliteracy. Is that what?
Yeah, and so that's kind of that's what we're working our students towards, is that there's different levels that they're working to. So every grade level in our Mandarin program, it's like a different level of fluency. And so obviously as a third grader, you're not going to have the same expectations of fluency as an 8th grader, because the goal is for them to meet those standards. And so the seal by literacy is basically verifying you have met those standards and you're verified and you're getting the seal by literacy. But at the same time, we have those different benchmarks and levels in place for our other grade levels.
You know how many of our students are on that path?
Yeah, that's the I think it's close to 50%. That's where that 50% comes from.
Okay, so 50%, approximately
Yeah.
50% of our students on that path to
Yeah.
achieve that goal. And we only this year we got 8, but
Yeah, which is actually, and so then when you look at, that's why we're really encouraged by our younger students too. Kindergarten, it was almost 80%.
that's amazing.
So we're getting, it's a good recognition to getting that strong foundation for our students
That's a
to
move
build.
up. That move up. We just continue to reinforce that.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. That's great. You know, certainly we've had concerns about our Mandarin program over the years. And it sure seems like that it's coming around.
Yeah, that's why I encourage everyone, people, if you're interested in our Mandarin program, you want to know more, come to that workshop on May 29th. It's on Zoom. It's also going to be recorded, so that you'll be able to we'll be able to go into more detail on all those things.
I got more, right?
Sure.
So Also, I know during the CASP testing, they're officially done now with the CASP testing.
We have some makeups that we're still
So you're
doing.
still doing makeups,
Makeups,
right? Because I know we temporarily halted the Pledge of Allegiance in the
Yeah,
morning.
it's coming back.
Because it slightly interfered, I should say interfered, but to facilitate the CAPS test, we've only temporarily stopped it, so it's coming back again.
Yeah, it's coming back.
Once we're done with that.
So probably on Thursday.
Yeah, okay, fantastic.
Just to follow up on the Pledge of Allegiance, so I know last summer we had some flags that were missing.
Mhm.
How are we planning on not having that renewed this summer?
So, I mean, we've had staff do inventory, so thanks to some donations, every classroom has a flag. And so that's gonna be a part of just inventory, making sure classrooms have their flags. So they're all in the classrooms.
There's plenty of that.
Yeah, and we have 2 new classrooms, so I'll make sure.
Yeah.
Because we got 2 more classrooms.
Yeah.
I guess.
So when we restart the school year next year, is there a checklist that the staff goes through? And that's-
Yeah, we're gonna have
Sure that-
yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving next to the local control and accountability plan, Dr. Kern.
Right, could I ask why the public comment go to the end? Normally, public comments in the beginning. What's the reason today going to the end?
Oh, go ahead. It actually has always been at the end on for non-agendized items. All year, it's been at the end. For agendized items. And last meeting, we actually made an exception to that. But it was actually agendized at the end of the meeting. However, it has been placed at the end of the agenda for every meeting. It's just we allowed people to make those comments early at the last meeting. But that was not where it was on the agenda.
Our kids are home, so we need
Beneficial for parents, right? If it's in the beginning, and to try to be here. I don't think it will make sense to do it at the beginning, but then again, I mean, this would be good for parents. If you want to do that.
kids waiting us outside.
So I just, again, I'll yield my time for my comment, but this is another one I'm gonna add into my comment. Due to the lack of transparency.
I mean, we did, that is how the agenda was posted and how the board approved the agenda. So that would be up to the board to change that agenda.
Okay, is there a motion to rechange the agenda so the so the non-agendized public comments can be made now? Is that what we're asking for?
What's the hurt?
Yeah.
We're here.
Well,
Or
so
at
we're
least
just
going
following,
forward.
yeah, I understand, we're just following the protocol, so this is the way it's been all year. And so we have public comments for agendized items that are on the agenda, and then public comments for non-agendized items. And what was covered in the agendized items portion for public comments, we have that period. So
But if any problem, if you put the beginning, if it's okay.
I understand, but we're talking about this now in the middle of the meeting, after we've already approved the agenda, which is what we did at the beginning of the meeting. So now we're looking to reorder for your request so we can accommodate what you're looking for.
Thank you. Yes, because with all due respect, you've been urging for us to get community members here to these meetings. It's very hard. It's a sacrifice because these are often long meetings. And so I will own this because then I was under the assumption and in the past, have been told I can't comment at the end of the meeting on public comments. It was at the beginning. And so I overlooked the fact that public comments got pushed to the end. So we conveyed to these parents that public comments would be in the beginning of the meeting after closed session, after we came back from closed session. So I appreciate your consideration.
Okay. Okay, so, are you okay?
Yeah, but-
Okay,
No, we can do
so,
it right now.
so, is there a motion to, restructure the agenda, reorder the agenda, so we put the non-agendized item public comments, set it to now?
Okay, but the agenda is comments of it.
They've already happened, so,
Yeah.
so this would be the non-agendized, public comments would be before. And we would complete that still within the allotted time. Some agenda is 30 minutes, 3 minutes each. And then Dr. Kernan would speak after that. So, yeah, so
Because otherwise,
yes, so yeah, it's 30 minutes, so it'll be clear, but we're just moving that discussion item forward to.
So how many comments do we have
I
total?
do.
Yeah, could you do a quick calculation of how many we have? So they're not going on. Yeah, we can't. Yeah, we can't.
So everyone's aware, we have a 30-minute cap and it's 3 minutes each, depending on how many comments we have, we need to adjust.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting. Yeah, let's see how many there are. And then you divide it into maybe 2 minutes each. Because if there's a lot of them, then there's nothing wrong with them.
Some of them are emailed in and a little bit shorter.
So, but because it's the non-agendized items, you'd have to read those.
Yes.
Okay, so you'd have to read those also.
Mhm.
So there's 17 of them, but not necessarily.
Yes.
You,
Sure. So, I mean, we could
see?
set it at 2 minutes. or-
Yeah. So
Send it to-
I'll make a motion.
Yeah.
That we reorganize the agenda for the non-agendized comments, but be limited to 2 minutes each because there's so many. And there's email comments.
Okay.
So that's what we do. We can do that. So I'm in that.
Okay.
Is that?
2 minutes. Public comment, including-
We have 17,
17.
because some were emailed and can be read. Within 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, because a lot of parents are sitting here
Yeah.
already, so.
So we have a motion. Is there a second?
Yeah, a second.
Okay, so we'll do roll call. Molly,
Yes.
Felipe?
Yeah.
I'm a yes.
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Okay, so it passes. So we will do the non-agendized, community input on non-agendized items. We'll do that now. We'll set it at 2 minutes each. And we'll cap it at 30 minutes is what we have, right? Hopefully, so please, we hope you can appreciate that, and please, we want to hear your public comments. We understand there are many of them, so we encourage you to be fruitful in what you tell us. Welcome. So,
And maybe not repeat over and over.
yeah,
It's our first time you've had this kind of show up the whole year. Give us some grace.
There's no clerk to help orient people to the process, and we have non-native English speakers, so.
Grace would be
Yeah,
nice, Mr.
thank you.
Felipe.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
for
Bill.
coming.
No problem.
I think it's pretty. Mr. Telfer.
You want me to start?
so I'll start the timer when we start speaking.
Thank you. Yes, I don't have a thing prepared, but first, I'm really shocked in the response of the voice of parents. My comments today was about how our voice are not heard. I think I speak pretty loud, but I feel like we're not heard. It's dead silence. And the reason I've been in the school was for the values. And I do feel that the values were drifting, especially in this reaction in terms of the voice of parents were asking for something and you guys were jumping on the legalese. This is us. This is what we hear. So what's going on? What's happening? Who are we becoming? And I don't like the sign of it. When my wife looked for this school, we're very appealing in the school. Dual language, we're already bilingual. Giving another language for our kids was great. My kid was in 2nd grade, was one of the best years he had. And I was looking forward for that for my fifth grader. And unfortunately, I didn't know about all I heard today about the increasing the cap and why the grief of my fifth grader was so hard this year. And now I'm kind of connecting the dots, right? I think you guys have to listen to us in terms of, and I feel that's not being heard at all. I'm hearing parents complaining, and yet what I'm seeing is dead silence on the side. And today is a very good example of what, and I thank you, Mr. Barrett, in terms of you bringing it up and making the change, but this is not what the natural reaction is dismissing. And why are we doing that? This is not the school that I'm enrolled into, and I hope that you guys are making change. What's my time? Because I need to add something else.
19 seconds.
19 seconds. Okay, so transparency is important. And I know the first reaction will be that you guys are transparent, but I'm saying transparency is important. So therefore, hear me out. Hear the parents' voice. Thank you.
I just want to echo everything you said. I agree with everything that you said. I think that what I really wanted to talk about, what really got me up here was the sex ed agenda that came out to the eighth graders. I don't agree with a lot of the things that I saw on it, specifically the steering children towards abortion, steering our children towards denying parental consent, and the woke gender theory, the radical gender theory that curriculum included. I don't want to have either of my sons have to pull out of that curriculum next year. I would like it to be changed. I would like it to be different. I don't want them to be taught that, and I don't want to have them excluded from it, if that makes sense. So, yeah, I think a lot of the problems, and I'm guessing a lot of what you might hear from the parents could be avoided by just having a little bit more transparency. I know that you're aware of the problems that I'm talking about right now, but I haven't really had any discussion from any of you. And I know a lot of you. I consider some of you friends. And we've stood together to protect the integrity of this school in the past. And I hope that's what we're all willing to do in the future.
So, thank you for having me, and I have a little disagreement with something happened like to my son, the school policy to deal with the situation. So what happens, my son got fired from one of his classmates, and it's not a big deal. But when that happened, we were requesting the school to facilitate a meeting between two parties. And it doesn't matter who is right, who's wrong. I just want school to be in that position to hosting the meeting between two parties. But what I got from the school is by law, and that's gonna violate the privacy, something like that. Bear with me with my language. So that part I don't understand. So I go to the other party privately. Actually, my wife went. So everything's good, peacefully, problem solved, and turns out the other kid, that's the words from his mother. She said that kid got beaten before. So, which makes, I think, he thinks that's the way to solve problem. So I think, anyway, I think that kind of meeting, if it's hosted by the school, will be hugely helpful, for that situation. To me, I think, what if something serious happened in the future? Like, what if that, serious injuries, are we still gonna not allowed to, you guys not gonna hosting any, meeting like that? So we're just gonna waiting to hear from you guys about, the communication between you and the other party. I mean, I just want to share about that. I have a little disagree with that policy. That's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. What's your name again, by the way?
I think you can call me Joe. Easier for you guys. Yeah.
I need what's name?
I think it's you know. Nice to have you back.
尊敬的 IAA 董事会，
Dear board members,
感谢你们对学校的付出和关注。
thank you for your contribution and your service to the school.
我是一位1年级学生的家长，
I'm the father of a first grader.
虽然我孩子入学的时间不长，
It hasn't been long since my child's been in the school.
离参加性教育课程还有好几年时间。
It's going to be a few years until she attends the sex ed education.
但今天我仍想说我的看法，因为我想我的孩子能在这里毕业。
But today I'm compelled to share my opinion because I do hope my child can continue in this school until graduation.
首先，我对 IAA 目前即将采用的性教育教材感到非常担忧。
First off, I feel very concerned about the current chosen sex ed education at IAA.
教材里面对性交的描述过于直接。
Their explicit description of sexual activity.
还有明显的同性恋的引导。
And obvious homosexual education.
我担心这些教材可能在孩子尚未具备判断能力时，对他们产生不当的影响。
I'm concerned it will lead the students when they're still innocent and immature to a wrong direction.
甚至引导他们走上一条偏离初衷的人生道路。
Worse, to take them away from the rightful path in their life.
据我了解，即便在加州也存在符合法规但相对保守的教材可供选择。
From my own research, I discovered that even in California, they are conservative sexual education that also meets state code.
听说之前离开的宾博士，就选择过保守的这个教材。
I learned that the previous school leader, Dr. Bean, had also chosen such a curriculum.
我诚恳的希望
I sincerely hope
学校能重新考虑使用这类保守的、更符合社区文化和家长期望的教材。
school will reconsider such curriculum that meets the family values and community values of such a curriculum.
第二，对于新的课后班，我也有些混乱。
For the new after-school provider, I also have some concerns.
我的孩子曾参加过之前的课后班，他觉得很开心。
My child is in the current after-school provider program, and she has been very happy.
在 Person to Square 上面看到新的课后服务机构之前，我并不知道要更换机构。
Before the notification, I did not even know the reason for this change.
新的机构有很多收费标准，大部分都比老的机构高。
The new after-school provider has different pricing. Almost all of them are higher in pricing than the current after-school provider.
我并不知道这些收费中会提供哪些服务内容。
And also, I do not know what are the classes program included in this pricing.
至少不像老机构提供的那样明确。
At the very least, it's not specifically outlined the program enrichment classes and such.
我不知道为什么要更换课后服务机构，
I do not know the reason behind this change.
也没有听到或看到更换过程中有多少机构参与竞争。
And I have not heard of any bidding discussion between different providers. Among different
Against time. So we did allow for extra time for translation, but
很快，
very fast.
也没有听到或看到更换过程中有多少机构参与竞争。
And I've not seen any other providers who have participated in the bidding process.
没有看到他们之间进行价格和服务上的对比。
I've not seen the comparison between pricing.
sir, sorry, we have,
Okay.
just to be fair to others that need to speak.
Last
Please, please,
last
谢谢，
sentence.
谢谢。
please.
谢谢。
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
this person is no longer here, but can I challenge you? Oh, I left it. Oh, to read.
Yeah.
I have it to read. Okay,
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that.
Thank you.
So I'm going to read the comment. We have not received the news that the after-school class will be replaced. If the after-school class is changed, do we need to get consent of each of our parents and the standard fee for the
We can hear.
after-school class next semester is too high? We do not agree to change to a new after-school class, so we need a clear explanation from you and tell us why we refuse to pay without notifying every parent. And then the rest are email comments, which I'll read. Thank you for your, dear board members. Oh, sorry, that's not public comment. As parents, we believe that transparency in decision-making is crucial in fostering a strong partnership between families and schools. However, recent decisions such as selecting a new after-school program, choosing a food vendor, and implementing a new sexual health curriculum have been made without sufficient communication with parents. We respectfully request that the school provide clear explanations for major changes, share candidate choice through direct emails so all parents are informed, and actively seek parental input such as through surveys before making decisions. Open and accessible communication will strengthen trust and ensure the decisions align with the best interests of students. Next comment. I hope this message finds you well. I'm ready to kindly ask that the following comments be read aloud during tonight's board meeting. Thank you for your consideration. There has been a lack of transparency in school administration throughout this school year. Parents have not been properly or promptly informed about important matters. The school administration appears to be disorganized this year. Teachers and PTO have been asked to send messages that pressure parents into paying for school field trips, which is concerning. More parents should be recruited to serve on the IIA school board to ensure broader representation and inputs. The next one. Incident May 5th, 2025. My son has been bullied multiple times by the same classmate at school. My son warned the other student not to do this, but the bullying continued until the afternoon of May 5th, 2025. While waiting to switch classrooms, my son was sitting on the carpet and didn't move. The other student jumped up and kneed my son in the groin, causing him severe pain. After reporting to the teacher, my son had to walk to the nurse's office in pain and clearly told the nurse that he was injured by the other student's knee. The nurse did not call home immediately. She only gave my son an ice pack. This response is very unreasonable. At 6 p.m. when I went to pick up my son, he showed me the school's ouch paper, and that's when I found out about it. That night, my son said he had no sensation when he urinated. The next morning on May 6th, I took him to urgent care, and then he was referred to Kaiser, so he couldn't go to school. On Tuesday and Saturday, we had to cancel baseball practice twice because he couldn't engage in intense exercise. On May 5th, Thursday afternoon, I went to the school to meet with the principal who said it was an accident. He refused to explain why the parents were not notified immediately. On May 16th, I met again with the principal and the nurse along with my friends. This time, it was even more ridiculous. The principal lied in front of everyone. The ouch paper clearly stated jumped, but the principal said slid. These two words have completely different meanings. What the principal did was refuse to apologize, covers and protects the other party. It also refuses to reimburse the medical expenses incurred during these days. Moreover, refuses to explain why parents were not notified immediately. On May 18th, 12:38 a.m., my son suddenly became responsive and defecated while asleep. We suspect nerve damage. I was scared and couldn't sleep all night. On May 19th at 12:06 p.m., we went to see the doctor again. The doctor said to observe him, and if there are any abnormalities within a week, to schedule an MRI. Since the incident, my son has started to dislike going to school. During the second meeting, my son was called out to explain what happened that day, so he saw and heard the principal lie, distort facts, and protect the other party. This has a very negative impact on the child. It's unbelievable. As a principal, an attitude is extremely rude, and this behavior of refusing responsibility and lying is very disappointing. This is bullying behavior. Next. I'm writing to bring to your attention a matter that has significantly impacted the fifth grade classroom community and my experience as a new educator at Irvine International Academy. A parent in our school community, Ms. Tiffany Kraft, has unfortunately engaged in a pattern of behavior that has continued to an increasingly tense and stressful school climate. Most recently, she submitted a concern to the Orange County Department of Education alleging that I failed to provide students with assigned reading materials. This concern was filed without any prior discussion with me or school administration, bypassing usual channels for resolving such issues collaboratively and constructively. This issue is part of a broader pattern that has persisted since the beginning of the school year. This process has taken steps that appear to encourage division and resistance to my role as a classroom teacher, creating an environment of mistrust that undermines both classroom operations and staff morale. In one notable instance, during state testing, Ms. Kraft entered the classroom without authorization, despite clear signage indicating that testing was in progress and access was restricted to authorized personnel. This disruption affected both students and staff during a critical academic period. As a first-year teacher and a member of the IA faculty, I remain deeply committed to fostering a respectful, inclusive, and academic enriching environment for all students. However, the repeated nature of these confrontations has presented significant challenges to fulfilling my responsibilities and has at times impacted my well-being and professional confidence. Moreover, these actions have contributed to a work environment that feels increasingly hostile, not only to me, but also to colleagues who are working diligently to support our students. I respectfully request the board's guidance and support in reinforcing standards and respectful communication and engagement with our school community. This is my sincere hope that the board's leadership will continue to build a school culture grounded in trust, collaboration, and mutual respect. Take a drink. Who wrote that? It wasn't.
And every Tuesday, I am signed up to volunteer in the classroom, and so I
I'm just gonna read the comment. Thank you for your board members and Dr. Freeman. Thank you for your continued oversight of IA. As concerned stakeholders, we feel compelled to speak up in defense of the founding principles of our school, Mandarin immersion and a foundation in conservative values. Sadly, under the current leadership team, both of these pillars have been intentionally and gradually dismantled. With Dr. Kanan's upcoming retirement, we respectfully request that the board not renew Mr. Schmider's contract. This moment presents an opportunity for a much-needed leadership reset, one that could bring IA back to its original mission as an inclusion-focused, conservatively guided charter school. We understand that dissatisfaction among parents, staff, and teachers may not be immediately visible to you. To gain a clear understanding, we insist that the board to conduct a year-end survey for all stakeholders as stipulated in the charter. Crucially, this survey should be conducted by a neutral, independent agency. If the school's finances are indeed strong enough to support salaries totaling over $500,000 for just 4 members in the administrative team, then surely there is room in the budget for an objective and professionally administered survey. The need for neutrality cannot be overstated. Under the current leadership, fear of retaliation has increased significantly. Even PTO members have been targeted for dissenting views from fellow PTO members, eroding trust and silencing open dialogue within the community. We also ask the board to be fully transparent with past survey results. What was the completion rate of the most recent survey conducted by Dr. Kanan? Have you reviewed the unfiltered data yourselves rather than relying on summaries provided by administration? Many of us chose not to participate due to fear that even anonymous feedback could be traced back to us from the examples and issues we were to bring forth. It pains me to say that our trust in our board has significantly eroded too, largely due to what we perceive as uncritical support of a leadership team that is out of alignment with IA's founding vision. We urge you to act with humility, openness, and a commitment to transparency. A professionally conducted, secure survey will speak volumes to listen to what the community has to say. Next one. I'm writing this email because I'm concerned about the current health education teaching content delivered to my daughter in 8th grade. First, I'm not entirely familiar with all of the content my daughter has been taught. However, since one of the parents and my daughter thought and stood to reach out to me and others and mention there would be something inappropriate, I would like to request further clarification for parental involvement for this purpose. No street out because everyone is doing a great job supporting their own students and kids for better future lives. So getting everyone on the same page may require much time and communication. Thank you for having this rest of your weekend. Thank you for reading my comments since I could not be at the board meeting this evening. I have a kindergartner and a 3rd grader who started at IA last year. I thank the administration and the PTO for the care and great work they've done to support the school while doubling in size and having a new administration come in. With the close of the school year, I have noticed a shift in the school culture of a small charter school feel to a more rigid big box style. I understand with about 500 students, we can't make everyone happy all the time. I also understand as a public school, we need to follow the law and pass audits. But after that, we still do have flexibility to meet the community's needs. For example, I seen students turned away from programs because of the rigidity of leadership unwilling to make minor, modest, and reasonable accommodations, even when they are appropriate and feasible. Another example is that the sex education curriculum families want and is also used by other public charter schools like OCCA is not being considered. IAA can stay in compliance while also remembering that families chose a charter school for the specific education and community over the neighborhood cookie cutter district school. There are leaders in our community who've been here a long time who I believe can help keep the original school culture while also staying in compliance. Tiffany Croft and Darren Parker are leaders in the school, not because they have an official title besides Tiffany and PTO, but because they are looked up to, trusted, and therefore have influence in the community. As a normal mom, I do not know the ins and outs of school rules, but I hope there are official positions for people like them who are already leaders. Together with the strong leadership already in place, we can keep our distinguished school academics on focused, flexible charter school culture. I'm writing to formally document ongoing and deeply concerning behavior by Ms. Tiffany Kraft that I believe constitutes a violation of disability policy outlined in the family handbook. This policy is intended to reduce potential triggers for violent conduct, such as fear, anger, frustration, and alienation, especially by making problem-solving procedures and alternatives to violence readily accessible to both students and adults. That's important. Ms. Kraft's conduct has instead created an environment of fear, frustration, and alienation, particularly to staff members targeted by her ongoing actions. As the only middle school faculty member remaining from the school's first year, I've witnessed firsthand the damage caused when parents are allowed to intimidate staff and manipulate school climate. Ms. Kraft's current behavior is alarmingly similar to the destructive patterns that led to the dismantling of leadership and a breakdown of morale during our inaugural year. Her behavior is disruptive and poisonous to the respect and inclusive culture we've worked so hard to rebuild. Specifically, Ms. Kraft has publicly criticized and discredited teachers, especially middle school teachers and people, filed repeated unfounded complaints that have contributed to teacher burnout, volunteered on campus without authorization or invitation from school staff, made staff feel targeted, undermined, and unsafe in their professional roles. As the BBIS coordinator, I face direct obstruction from Ms. Kraft, particularly around the school's use of the acronym PRIDE within our behavior expectations. Rather than approach me constructively, she accused me of promoting a personal agenda that escalated the issue to Dr. Stephen Bean, our Chinese superintendent, to question whether I had permission to use the term. Her communication felt personal and accusatory, requiring me to spend multiple weekends responding to her messages just to justify a word that is widely accepted in PBI's framework across the country. Furthermore, Ms. Kraft has actively led the charge against our school's adoption of a comprehensive sexual health education curriculum with a specific focus on targeting and excluding LGBTQ+ representation, while those students and staff at our school identify as part of this community. As the only credentialed teacher at IA qualified to teach this curriculum and someone with a bachelor's degree in health science, a master's degree in public health, and with an emphasis on community health education, I find this attack not only deeply disrespectful, but professionally and personally invalidating. Because Ms. Kraft's rhetoric, I, as well as my fellow middle school faculty, have been publicly dismissed and discredited by other parents, including Amelie, another parent whose behavior towards staff has been troubling. These parents have perpetuated a narrative that disrespects my expertise, marginalizes the LGBTQ+ community, and undermines the health and well-being of our school culture. The emotional and professional toll of this has been significant. I and many of my colleagues no longer feel safe, respected, or empowered to carry out the duties without fear of harassment or retaliation, although our school administration has intervened and has made multiple attempts to stop the constant ridicule from Ms. Tiffany Kraft. I respectfully and urgently request that school leadership take concrete steps to enforce our civility policy and restore professional climate in which the staff and students, including those in marginalized groups, are protected, supported, and valued. The ring of muscles that allow the releases of solid food like the feces, i.e. the bowel movement from the body. An erect penis may be put into the anus during sexual intercourse sex. Some people choose to put a penis finger or an object into the anus during sex. On contraception, visit your pharmacy or public health clinic to get emergency contraception. In all states, people of any age can purchase some type of emergency contraceptive pills over the counter without parental consent and without a prescription. These are excerpts from the comprehensive sex ed binder. If any of you on the board are parents yourselves playing a critical role in shaping your children's values and beliefs. How would you feel if someone told your child they could engage in sexual activity, obtain contraception, or seek an abortion all without your knowledge or consent? There are numerous sexual education programs available. Why then has our school chosen one that appears to contradict the values and beliefs held by the majority of our school community? I urge you to review and compare the PCP curriculum with the HEART curriculum. To date, more than half of the 8th grade students have opted out of sex ed. With opt-out rates that high, should we consider whether the curriculum is truly serving our students? As board members, you are entrusted with shaping the foundation of our school. Every decision we make carries significant weight. Poor judgment impacts our students directly. Please take time to gather accurate information, explore diverse sources, and make informed decisions. If you find you cannot commit the time and care that this responsibility demands, I respectfully ask that you consider stepping aside so that a committed parent, one who truly prioritizes the best interests of our school community, can take your place. 2 more. I am writing to express serious concern over the board's decision to solicit and consider sex education curriculum without first seeking meaningful input from parents and guardians. As the primary educators and caregivers of our children, parents have both the right and the responsibility to be involved in decisions that directly impact their children's moral, emotional, and physical development. Curriculum decisions, especially those as sensitive and foundational as sex education, should be transparent and reflect the values of the families within the community. Bypassing parental involvement not only undermines trust, but also erodes the collaborative partnership that should exist between families and educational institutions. I urge the board to pause any further action on this matter until a clear, inclusive, and open process for parental engagement is being established. Our voices matter and our children's well-being depends on it. I'm writing this letter to you to discuss growing concern happening at Irvine International Academy regarding its culture between students, parents, and staff in 5th grade through 8th grade. This year, I felt personally attacked and questioned by a small group of parents in 5th grade. I know I'm not the only staff member experiencing this, and it is creating a toxic atmosphere that is ruining student-teacher relationships, parent-teacher relationships, and the overall school climate we have worked so hard to build. I chose to work at Irvine International Academy because of the high academic rigor, supportive staff, and parent involvement, such as parents being part of my interview process. So 6th grade through 8th grade parents have been great to work with, trusting me each day with their students, showing support, creating open lines of communication, and making sure that parent-teacher relationship remains strong. However, a small group of 5th grade parents, spearheaded by Tiffany Kraft and Ann Lilly, have been creating a very toxic and hostile environment in our school that has made it very difficult to continue working here. You may think it is the principal's or even executive director's responsibility to create and instill a positive school climate. This responsibility also extends to teachers, support staff, students, and even the board. However, with such strong parent involvement, the responsibility also falls on parents. In my opinion, things that disrupt a positive school environment include pushing personal agendas or beliefs on an entire school community, undermining school authority, and creating a hostile work environment for those you disagree with. I witnessed this group of parents do all of the above mentioned. As a public charter school, it is my understanding that we need to remain apolitical and areligious. This has been the case at every district and every charter school I have worked at thus far. However, this group of parents has threatened the integrity of our public institution by pushing continue using asexual education curriculum that is not state approved because of its exclusionary commentary, removing the mention of those who are not straight and gender conforming, which deliberately disregards the state standards for sexual health education and supports exclusionary practices in our schools. Multiple school site council and popular principal meetings, both my and Mr. Smitter's professional authority have been undermined by constantly questioning why and how decisions were made, something that did not seem to happen with the previous administration, at least not on video recordings. It is great to question why and how decisions are made if you have a genuine question, but the repeated asking of the same asked and answered questions shows this group has ulterior motives. Lastly, undermining or trash talking teachers in front of other parents, such as on platforms like Class Dojo or in large group chats, creates a toxic environment among parents. This can spill over into the classroom since children's minds are often influenced by their parents. These are things that I've experienced this year and can be linked back to Tiffany Kraft and Ann Lilly. As the stakeholder at Irvine International Academy's future, hopefully for decades to come, I want what is best for our school. I want us to continue growing, improving, and attracting high-achieving students and staff. I worry that this group of parents' antics threaten that future, not just for me, but for my colleagues and students. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner, for reading those. Thank you.
Thankfully, they sent it to me, that they sent it to you, since I'm the spearheader, apparently, from Mr. Feld.
I did not receive a comment.
Myself.
Was his last name Felt?
Yeah. We spoke at coffee with the principal.
Yeah, I didn't receive any comments from him, but he could definitely reach out and
Yeah.
get back to him.
I read it? Can I read it for him? Can I read it? Okay. Okay.
So we can hear it. Thank you. Thank you. We can hear this. Couldn't hear any of your stuff. Yeah.
Here we go. Just scrolling to his message. This is what I sent. I'm writing you today to discuss issues I see with the current board member selection process. The process as it stands today does not resemble any legislative or commercial corporate process which keeps the board and the administration or executive team separate, preventing a conflict of interest and true bipartisan decision processes. Currently, Amy Kernan is part of the board selection process, which gives the IAA administration power over the board, which sets her charter and approves the direction and policy for IAA. That she, as executive director, should be implementing and reporting on the progress of. This is unheard of in a Fortune 100 company for someone acting like a CEO to have power to control membership of its board. Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Michael Dell, or even Elon Musk never had control of the board or its election process, as the board held them accountable, just as the IAA board should hold our executive director accountable. If you recall, Steve Jobs was ousted from the company he founded due to the board's inability to act independently. Short-sighted in hindsight or not, it emphasizes the independence a board must have. While all of the famous leaders have or had massive stock and voting capabilities as any shareholder, they did not sit on or control any aspect of the board. Several parents and staff have reached out about the impacts of Amy's policy and decisions over the last year and the direction it has taken the school with grave concern. Recently, I was compelled to take time off work to attend coffee with the principal to make my voice and the voice of my community heard as the administration continued to avoid answering questions, and when they did answer, the answers would change over time, which equates to lying or withholding info. This grave disservice to the parents of inaccurate, untimely, or just poor communication will hopefully be over with Amy's resignation. This pattern of communication also happened at Oxford Academy, where several of the parents have said it was a pattern under her leadership there as well. With Amy's resignation of her position and appointment of Stephanie Henry as executive director, we ask that you remove Amy Kernan from all responsibilities at IAA in interaction with the board, as she has fulfilled her duty and chosen to move on with her personal and professional goals. Stephanie needs to be free to execute on the board's direction via her administration without influence from her predecessor. We, the parents, also humbly request that you change the board member approval process so that the board and administration run independently like corporations and legislation does. Governors and state legislators are independent, CEOs and corporate boards are independent, the President of the United States and Congress are independent, and we ask for the IAA board and the school administration to be as well. We understand that administration members like an executive director may be a guest attendee at times for continuity or to report to the board, but the independence of the board is critical to growth, success, and stability of our school.
Thank you. So thank you to all that provided public comments. I would like to, for the sake of time, task the executive director, Dr. Stephanie Henry, to please follow up with every public comment submitted, and to plan for the next board meeting to have a report out on the follow-up for each of the items. Some of the items will be able to address after the middle school year. Some of the items won't be addressed till the next school year. So if you wouldn't mind, we'd really appreciate that. Okay. Thank you all. And Dr. Kernan, we would like to hand the floor back over to you for the local control and accountability plan, the LCAP, please.
All right, thank you. So this is our presentation regarding our local control and accountability plan. Basically, this is our plan for our school. So it's really a 3-year plan that is adopted, and actually I'm kind of in a weird position, but to really address student outcomes, the different goals of the school, different metrics that we use to determine whether we're meeting those goals. And it kind of is consistent or comprised of different pieces. So there's an LCAP budget summary for parents, a plan summary, how we've engaged our educational partners, goals and actions, increased or improved services for foster youth, English learners, and low-income students. There's some action tables which sort of outline all of the different things that we're planning to do as a school. And then we actually have to add the instructions at the end, which is kind of weird, but it's a lot of extra pages. So our LCAP has to cover our 8 state priorities. So basic necessities, implementation of the state standards, access to a variety of different courses, high student achievement, school climate, student engagement, parental involvement, and then other student outcomes that we might look at as a school that don't fall into these other categories. So there's a lot of information on this slide, but I did want to share out some of the different ways that we have solicited information from our educational partners. And so we do have an LCAP advisory committee that meets to kind of go over our LCAP goals and provide input. And there's parents and different staff members on that committee. School site council, coffee with the principal, our safety committee, our instructional leadership team, our English language advisory committee that's actually meeting this week, our LCAP stakeholder survey, and then different board public hearings like we had tonight. And some of the different things that we kind of added to our LCAP or revised in our LCAP based on this feedback and has been kind of, I think Felipe, you brought it up earlier, is looking at how to improve our Mandarin program and provide a really robust Mandarin program for our students. Increase small group interventions and supports for our students, providing more enrichment programs, providing more social emotional learning supports and services, and then looking at ways to increase and improve our parent communication. So in looking at our LCAP, we have 3 goals. So the first goal really kind of revolves around our academics. So it's ensuring all scholars are meaningfully engaged and achieve in a rigorous and standards-aligned dual immersion program in both English and Mandarin, and students are engaged in academic interventions if it's necessary. And we have a variety of metrics that we look at to determine whether our students are meeting this goal, from course access to how our students are doing on various assessments like the CAS, iReady, level learning, how our English learners are making progress, as well as things like our teacher retention rate, whether our teachers are appropriately credentialed and assigned, and then, like I said, our different assessment scores. And then we added, based on feedback from our different stakeholder groups, some new metrics for this year revolving around different LCAP survey questions, also talking about how many different professional development opportunities that we've had this year. And we have a variety of actions that are covering this goal of different things that we're going to do to make sure that we're achieving this goal. And as part of our LCAP, our LCAP coincides with our budget. And so in our LCAP, with each of these actions, we have to state how much money that we're going to be spending or projected to spend on each one of those actions. And then that's aligned to our budget. And this year we've actually implemented on our board agendas, putting that LCAP goal on there so that the board can see exactly what goal and action each one of those expenditures or different items are tied to, if they're tied to it. So some of the different actions for our goal 1 have to do with staff development and support, retaining highly qualified teachers and staff, providing coaching and support to our staff, providing interventions and acceleration opportunities for our students, using a variety of different assessments, as well as keeping our library updated. Some additional things that are actions for this goal are implementing a writing program, and that's actually a new action based on feedback, or making sure that we're really doing that in both Mandarin and English. Providing an English language development program, special education programs, identifying our GATE students and providing enrichments for them, and then having curriculum, materials, and resources for our students. Also having our middle school, making sure that we're providing different experiences and activities and resources for our middle school students. We also added an action for STEAM instruction at our school to make sure that we're really highlighting that, because that is something that we do highlight in our charter. Also a goal for Mandarin instruction, definitely based on a lot of feedback that we need to really focus on our Mandarin program, and then providing summer and after school programs. So that's basically goal 1. Goal 2 has to do more with school climate and student engagement. So positive school climate and student engagement. Create a safe, inclusive, and welcoming school climate where students and staff are engaged and fully invested in students' academic, health, and social emotional learning. So again, some of those metrics are things like our attendance rate. How many students are considered chronically absent, or those students missing 10% or more of the school year. Suspension rates, expulsion rates. Luckily, we've never had any expulsions. We hope to keep that at 0. Our school facility in good condition. And then different metrics around our school climate, or our LCAP survey regarding school climate. And then our actions for that. The first action, MTSS, which is multi-tiered systems of support. So providing a lot of different supports for our students who might need academic support, social emotional support. Also PBIS, which is positive behavioral interventions and support. So that's more to do with our student discipline and student engagement. Also continuing to provide those monthly assemblies for our students to recognize our students, but also to address different topics like bullying and digital citizenship, things like that. Community building activities, all the great things that we do here at IAA, like field days and Mid-Autumn Festival, Lunar New Year. And then something that has been in here is researching a social emotional learning curriculum and implementing that. We did add a goal this year around campus safety. And so really looking, and that was, again, from stakeholder feedback, looking at making sure that we have a safe campus and that we're implementing what we have in our school safety plan. Mental health curriculum, and making sure that we have community resources provided for families who might need them. Are ensuring that our facilities and our grounds are well maintained and clean and safe for our students. We also added an action for cybersecurity. So making sure that we provide that device monitoring software and make sure that we know what our students are doing when they're online. Attendance support, so providing some training and support to make sure that we're really getting our students here to school and maintaining high attendance rates. We also added a goal on technology and equipment, so making sure that we have the technology and the equipment necessary in all of our classrooms. Things from furniture, making sure that we have the STEAM equipment and everything that we need, not only for our younger elementary students, but also to support a robust middle school elective program. And then classroom behavior support. So offering training and PD to teachers in classroom management and PBIS. And then finally, our LCAP goal 3 is parent support and engagement. So create an engaged parent, student, staff, and overall community population that is fully invested in and actively connected to the school community and academic program. So some of the metrics for this are the number of families that participate in our annual survey, and also just, any other surveys, percentage of parents accessing Parent Square, Number of families contributing and providing input on decision-making, so, you know, through coffee with the principal, school site council, and ELAC. And then, again, our stakeholder survey results in the areas of communication and engagement. And then one that we actually added for this year is the number of community engagement activities that we have each year, and making sure that we continue to have those activities that really get our community together and make IAA so special. So some of our actions is continuing to provide those parent engagement workshops. So things like our parent workshop on Mandarin that's coming up on the 29th, making sure that we have those opportunities for our community. Bilingual community outreach and supports, making sure that we have interpretation services for our families that might not speak English, as well as providing other resources for families who may be in need, school supplies, school clothing, things like that. And then, I skipped one. Community partnerships and engagement. So again, supporting, bringing our community in for all of the different events that happen here at IIA, and then family access to dual immersion online support. So making sure that families understand our different assessments. They have access, you know, to online curriculum and things like that, so that they can work with their students when they're at home. Communication, providing information and consistent communication to parents. And then one thing that we've discussed a lot in our LCAP advisory was providing some welcome resources for new families that are coming into our schools. So, you know, especially those students who might come in either during the school year or come in not in TKK, but kind of later on, making sure that they have all of the resources and they're acclimated well into our community. And then, you know, just providing different recruitment materials and things that show what great things that we have going on here at IAA. Another piece of the LCAP is for increased or improved services. So these are services that we give to our subgroups of students, so our English learners, our low income students, and our foster and homeless students. They're sort of above and beyond what we would supply or what we would do for all students. So, so our total projected amount of money that we should be using to kind of go above and beyond for these student groups is about $539,533. It's about 8% above what the total amount of LCFF we get. And you can see that we have actually, in a lot of our different actions, addressed ways that we can meet the needs of those students above and beyond. So things like having our small group ELD sessions with our ELD coordinator, having that constant monitoring of our English learners, providing different resources for our low income families. So just different ways that we can go above and beyond for those students who might need some extra support. So again, thank you so much. Everybody who has provided input, has come to meetings, has you know, given us feedback that helps us to make a really good LCAP for our students and provide the best education we can for our students.
Thank you. Anything? Okay, moving on. Thank you very much. Moving on, next item, 2025-2026 budget. Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Thank you for your patience.
No worries at all. Thank you guys so much. Okay, now, Amy, can you allow me to share really quickly, please?
Turn it on.
Oh, okay.
I meant to do it before I went up there, but I forgot.
No worries at all.
No, I gotta do it from down there.
Thank you for waiting too long. We changed the agenda a little bit, so the non-agendized items.
No worries at all. I do understand you guys have far more important
Thank you for.
things to hear there, and certainly the public is part of that, so completely understand.
Okay, Delano, you should be good now.
Yes, I am. Thank you. Okay, so to piggyback on what Amy just laid out, obviously this is layering inside of the LCAP the budgeted items as she just went over. This is more or less just a 30,000 view of the preliminary budget.
Hold on, Delano, I need to figure out why it's not sharing my screen.
Oh, okay.
All right. Okay, now you're on.
Okay, perfect. So as I was mentioning, so this is the preliminary budget, which is directly tied into the LCAP goals and actions that Amy just reviewed with you all. This is more or less just a 30,000-foot view of that budget. We will be bringing the budget back again in June for final review, barring any changes or anticipating any changes that may come, or known information that may come up between now and then.
I'm trying, yeah.
Still having issues?
Nope, we're good. I just had to make it full screen.
Right, perfectly. So as discussed before, we're looking at this column here for the 25-26 budget. Enrollment currently as planned, 611 students with an average daily attendance of estimated 97%, which should derive roughly 592.67 ADA. Total revenues as budgeted, 8.7 million, and you'll see that in just a second. Components of that is 7,274,197 for LCFF revenues. Of that, 5.6 million in property taxes, another 118,000 the EPA protection account revenues, and then 1.5 million in LCFF state revenues. On the federal side, we're looking at 198,271, 65,000 in special ed IDEA funds. Those are for your federal dollars for special ed. Another 52,000 in child nutrition or for the lunch program on the federal side. And then we have 47,000. We basically just repeated because these estimates here will change in the fall again, but currently we're going to use the same estimates as current year for our title funds, Title 1, 2, and 3. On the state side, we have our state nutrition program of 254,000, another 10,000 from mandate block grant, restricted lottery of 48, 113,000 in unrestricted lottery. Our ELOP amount, which is our after school, before and after school program, we're looking at estimated 281,000 for that. We're looking at special ed mental health revenues of roughly 30,000, and then our state dollars for special ed of 485,000, and then Prop 28, our art and music grant of 46,000, which will yield in total 1.269 million in state revenues. On the local side, we have roughly just about 88,000 in interest. We did not put in or book any revenues for donations or anything of that sort. We wanted to be a little bit more conservative with that. just so that will sort of play itself out in terms of, we may receive some or we may not receive some, but at this point, we're going without any local revenues in terms of donations and things like that we had in the past. On the expenditure side, and I'll quickly discuss here our expenditures. 2.7 million in certificated salaries. And I do have the breakdown here in terms of our staffing for that. That yields roughly 31.25 FTEs in terms of certificated staff. On the classified side, 1,317,000, which is 26 FTE in totals, inclusive of classroom aides, support staff, office staff, etc. Aligning with that are our benefits, which are roughly 1.2 million. And obviously this covers retirement of various sorts, and also the normal benefits for Medicare, Social Security, health and welfare benefits, unemployment insurance, things like that, and retirement, as I mentioned. All in all, our total personnel expenses of $5.3 million. On the program side, and again, these are closely tied to the growth in student numbers in ADA. I won't go through all of these, but we have budgeted for textbook and curriculum, instructional software, supplemental instructional materials, office materials and supplies, classroom materials and supplies, testing and assessment, just to name a few, non-cap equipment, technology, and obviously our school meals for a total of $715,701. On the operational side, just a couple of things. Obviously, some of the big drivers here would be the cost of insurance, professional development, our facilities lease, which did go up a little this year as well. Things like that, our cost for ancillary services for special ed, which you can see down here. Or one more down here. 6815 here, excuse me. Field trips, your fiscal services, your student recruiting, your IT services, etc., for a total of $1.3 million for those services. We did build in some interest on the current lend donate amount here of $50,000, and that's interest and debt services for that, which would put our total operational expenses at $2.149 million. Adding that with our personnel costs and our books and supplies puts our total expenses at $7,466,000. Subtracting revenues of $8.7 million, which leaves us with about net income of $1.2 million. And again, we're very conservative with some expenditures, and obviously this does leave room for additional expenditures as they may come up, or if, again, as I mentioned, if something comes up between now and when we bring this budget back, we'll make those adjustments. But right now we're predicting a net income of roughly $1.2 million, just a significant jump from where we currently are in 24-25 with our estimated net income of roughly $504,000. The total revenues, and just to sort of give you a quick summary of where we are here, and this is the personnel side that I mentioned here in terms of our FTEs for staffing, and you can see how that plays out in terms of our certificated staff and as well as our classified staff, and that total number here of roughly 57.25 FTEs compared to where we are currently this year, about roughly 46.25. Total revenues increased compared to 24-25, which obviously were driven by more LCFF and property tax revenues. Personnel costs, of course, obviously increased as well, accounting for roughly about 75% of our total expenditures, which is roughly on par for a school of this size. You tend to see somewhere in that 70 percentile, mid 60s to low 70s in terms of that cost for staffing and benefits, etc. And as I mentioned, net income here of 1.284. which is really good in terms of having that projected now. And again, as I mentioned, that may change, obviously, if we get any new information between now and when we bring the budget back in June. And overall, the enrollment expansion increased by 85 students compared to where we were in 24-25. I will stop and take questions if there are any.
Hey, Delano, this is David.
Hi, David. How are you?
Yeah, question, you said, from compared to 2024, there's an increase of the 85 students. What, I don't remember, what was our projection?
Our projection was actually 612, so we dropped it down, I mean, based on the budget that was done last year. It was 612 for next year. It actually went up to almost 900 in the out years. So we actually dropped it down. We couldn't hold 900 students in this building, so so we dropped it down and kept it around 600, and then it dropped down by one student just based on our projections for next year.
Yeah, because previously we heard some comments from the parents in terms of the enrollment cap of enrollment. We're just curious, so what is the kind of the minimum break-even point in terms of enrollment where you can barely make it, right? There gotta be some point, if you're below the threshold, you can't cover the fixed cost.
Yes.
Very curious about it.
Yeah, and so if I could touch on that just a little bit, and I did hear some of those comments regarding the enrollment cap, et cetera. And I think Amy has done a tremendous job because from the outside looking in, obviously there is a huge amount of interest in your school, right? And so I can only imagine that you have a wait list of parents who want the same opportunity as everyone who's currently enrolled or will be enrolled next year. But if you look at the out years here, and I only added on 26-27 as part of this, that enrollment is only going to go up about 19 students next year. Right. And even so, the growth from this year to next year had to be significant to sort of maintain any sense of fiscal solvency, et cetera. Number one, and because the natural growth within the school itself obviously was going to push your enrollment up anyways. But to your point, or Amy's point, with the current configuration, there's no way you can go into the 700 numbers in terms of enrollment. I don't think you have the capacity internally in terms of classrooms to be able to do that. I believe at some point in the past, the enrollment when this was a regular school within the district was upwards of 700 to 800 students, which is well above where we currently are. But for us here, or for Irvine, I think this is ultimately the sweet spot in terms of being able to provide a great education, but also at the same time protect the organization by having that surplus to be able to support the program for years to come. And that is the ultimate goal. You guys have really turned that corner, and now is that time where you will see that you really can't have a great educational program if you don't have the resources in terms of funds to do it. And so I think this is a really good spot to be in. And I think if you were to hold true to this with minimal increases, obviously, you will certainly get where you need to go with that.
Yeah, just along the same line, let's assume we kind of max out at 600 or something, right? 600, no more than 620. What's your projection for next year? Because we are going to be operating as a quote unquote normal school, right? Because previously we had loans, high interest rate loan. And I predict by next year, we're going to be operating, without all this, we're going to be
absolutely. As I mentioned, in this last column here is for the 26-27 school year, where we're looking at an enrollment of roughly 630. And again, this is an estimate for 2 years from now, which certainly will assist in adding to. And if you look at where that shakes out here in terms of what the resources will yield overall, and I'll just get down to the bottom line here for that. Obviously, with more students, you're going to have more expenses. But again, we're looking at here at 2 year, and again, these are just estimates as of today, but we're looking at a net income increase of about 1.7 million in 26-27 if the enrollment of 630 comes to fruition and the ADA, et cetera, and all those things line up as we have them estimated here. And again, this is written in pencil, not in pen, because there are so many factors between now and 2 years from now that may change, right? To get a different result, obviously. But I think the enrollment and where we are currently, is where it needs to be able to get the organization in a place where you can have that great, fantastic program and offerings that all parents want for their children. So I think this is a great place to be.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just to be clear, Delano, so an enrollment of like 200 students is just not feasible.
No, and I think you guys can all, attest to, if we were to sort of do a little bit of revisionist history here and going back to when we were, 300 students, and I certainly have, that data. If I don't think anyone wants to go back to that, but you can see the struggles then just 2 years ago, right? Even at the end of the first year.
Eyes at night, when I close my eyes at night, I see it already. Okay, so you don't have to show it.
Yes. Yes. So, and I get the idea of a small school, small community school in a sense, but it's not really fiscally viable just because you would have to reduce the program down to, barely the nuts and bolts to be able to survive. And again, that's up to the community, obviously the community, the board being part of that, the leadership to determine, Irvine's destiny in terms of, how big you grow, how fiscally solvent you want to be and where those numbers are. Right. Because I think, as I mentioned, you have a huge wait list and you can grow to well over 700-800 students in the next couple of years. Right. But is that where you really want to be? Right. So, but you have that interest and, just from an outsider looking in, most schools are craving for what you have in terms of that wait list, in terms of those interested parties who want to come to your school. So without going back to 2 years ago, short answer to your question, I think this is the best spot to be in from a fiscal point of view. And again, in terms of providing a really great educational program. And, this is almost in the realm of a private school education, if you will, with public dollars here. So this is an awesome thing in my opinion. But again, I do get that, you don't want to have a place where you're having 800, 900, 1,000 students, that may not be ideal for you. But that is something that you guys will have to come to a decision on.
I'm just talking about your professional opinion as an accountant and, your experience in this, You're talking like where we are I'm just gonna throw a number out there, 600 students with on the path that we're on. It definitely, like you said, other schools are, this is the model they would want to see.
Oh, absolutely. With so many schools seeing declining enrollment, and in fact, and you're growing by leaps and bounds, that says quite a bit about the program offerings that you have. So yes,
the program of the school, right? And the
absolutely.
curriculum we have and the potential we're going to have, right? Because we have starting to have the dollars behind that.
100%. Yes, absolutely. And I think this is, as I mentioned, this is where you want to be. This is where you should have been, in year 2 going into year 3, but we're here now, right? And I think that's the most important piece is that.
Correct. That was always the vision, that the school is going to be climbing at this level. But
absolutely.
Yeah. And you were here from the beginning, and that's truly what we were looking at.
Yes.
So I have one more question for you. When you look at the budget here, and it's something I know we had to restrain raises for the staff. I think it was maybe a year ago, whatever. This new budget takes that into account, that they'll.
Yes, it does. And if you were to look at just where we are in terms of, let me shrink this down a little too big.
I don't want to ever have to tell them that again.
No.
Basically.
And again, this is def.
Iteration, Betsy did basically an entire
Right.
spreadsheet with each one of our staff members, what salary they'll be getting for next year. And so this is based off of, exactly what the salaries for each one of our staff members.
It's been factored in already.
Factored in with, their, step advances or call it.
So even with that, the estimated, net income at the end, was it 1.2 or 1.7?
Yes, 1.2 million.
Well, 1.28, so about.
1.284.
Even with the increased growth, the increased salaries, the increased programs that we're gonna have, we're gonna have a net income or approximate, obviously, this is all in pencil, but the estimate at this point is 1.2 million, which is,
Yes.
can't believe we're talking about this. Actually, all these years, that I'm saying that. So thank you, Delana. I just wanted to get that in there.
Absolutely, yes. To confirm, their raises are built in here per Amy's statement a few minutes ago.
One more thing, Delana. One more thing. So you work very closely with this budget, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
You're watching from year one here. So if somebody was to walk in here and say there's some impropriety in our budget, if the mayor of Irvine walked in this door right here and said that there was impropriety in our budget, you would know what they were talking about, right? That would be.
Well, they would have to be more specific than just a statement of impropriety. They would have to give us, but I can attest that between Amy and I, there are no improprieties here. I wouldn't even know where to start with that, but no.
Okay, thank you.
And our financials are audited as well.
Yeah, they're audited also, so.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So there isn't, every year we are audited independently, or your school is audited independently of me and of you, which is, and that's also a contracted service that's built in here. So there's plenty of transparency to go around, as I would say.
Absolutely, board, everybody. So any accusation like that really is a conspiracy. It would have to be like a conspiracy, right? You don't have to.
Yeah, maybe perception.
Right, thank you.
Ms. Miller, do you have any questions? No.
No question. No question.
Okay, thank you. Delano, I have one question, it's Brett. Do you have any sense for the max drawdown? I know it's revolving for the line of credit for next year, how much we think at any given point we'll need to draw down from that line of credit?
Well, I anticipate that in July, you may need to have a small pull from that. But as we get into August and September, obviously then when revenues pick back up again, and again, remember, you're going to start to get funded on a higher ADA than a year ago. So you'll be funded on your 511 or whatever that number currently is, your 510 ADA. You'll be funded on that through the first half of the year. So that will help tremendously in terms of the amount of resources that you will have compared to a year ago when we really had to do a lot of that borrowing just to keep ourselves afloat. But I do not anticipate that you will have a need to pull all of that 1.5, because in the summertime, most of your personnel expenses will be minimum because you won't have your teaching staff, your instructional aides and those if you will, staff that are not seeing students or serving students during that time.
Is it a possibility that we may not need it at all? Or is that we're likely to need something?
You more than likely you will need some, but again, there's lots of cushion in there with that. And I'll let sort of Amy, I heard you were saying something, so I'll sort of yield to you.
I think likely we'll need some, especially, we have to pay back the Lend Donate loan. And we are projecting to be net positive this year with the 500,000, but we won't see all of that money before we need to pay that off. And then once we do see that money, we still have to make it into the beginning of next year. Kind of like we've talked about, I think ad nauseum now that funding, we don't get funded, upfront, it kind of, there's a little bit of a lag. So it is likely we will need to drop it next year. But the good news is that looking at our projections, going into the following year, we should have a very strong reserve. And then that will just, be there for us as a cushion, or if there was, some expansion or looking at other facilities or things like that. We'll still have that line of credit that we can utilize, but we won't actually have to draw on it in future years unless it's for some type of special project or something like that.
Thank you. Next item, we have the financial update.
I think you probably combined them, but I wasn't sure, so I separated them out.
Use a detailed version.
So if you have anything else to add, Delano, but otherwise I just separated them out into two things, but I think you combined them.
To me.
Yeah.
Anything else to say on your part, Delano, that you want to make?
Oh, in relation to the preliminary budget, no, I think you guys have covered it. I've said quite a bit already. So
Financials, because I separated them out as a budget presentation and a current financials presentation.
Yeah.
But I think we did both of them, so.
Okay, Delano, well, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Are you sure you guys don't want to go over the April financials?
Yep, that's what we were asking.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's a little late for all of us tonight, right? Let me share that again. Okay, perfect. All righty, so continuing here, so we've, and I know I'm sure the school staff is a little excited. We've certainly turned the corner here, and we're, as they say, we're down the home stretch here in the last part of the fiscal year. So this will probably be the last time that we sort of look at 24-25 financials. Barring anything that comes up, obviously. But this will be our last look until we get to the end of the fiscal year, the audit and things like that. But I'll dive right in just for the purpose of time here. In April, we received $738,000 in revenues. 630 of that was our LCFF. Another $93,000 in state revenues and about $6,400 in federal revenues. April expenses were $571,000. 57% of that, or $328,635, were attributed to salaries and benefits. Another $80,000 in curriculum and books, materials, and supply costs. 142,000, or 25% of that, were for operational matters. And then 20,000, or roughly 4%, in other outgo. Our year-to-date revenues were $5,590,361. 78% of that are obviously our LCFF revenues. Our revenue limit source, which comprises of obviously our state aid, EPA, and property taxes. We received $57,000 in federal dollars. Another $821,000 in state revenues, and then $336,000 in local revenues. Our year-to-date expenses of $5,347,000. Salaries and benefits of $303,493,000. $465,000 in program costs. Operational were $1.3 million, and other outgo were $78,237. Our year-over-year comparison, looking at where we were at the same time last year, obviously revenues are up roughly 38%, or about $1.5 million compared to last year. And as I mentioned in my budget presentation, that's what you will see now. We were starting to recognize and receive the revenues based on this current year ADA. So that's a really a great thing there. As you can see here, the big bulk of that was in our LCFF revenues. Obviously, our federal dollars, this is a bit misleading because we're actually getting more federal dollars this year. This was the PCSGP grant from 2 years ago that we finally received all of it back in 2024. So that's really the variance there was that, but we're actually receiving what I would think would be more federal revenues this year. So total revenues are up 38%. On the flip side of that, our expenses, and again, I credit Amy with a lot of this year in terms of getting these costs under control, and I'm sure it was not an easy thing to do with so many stakeholders to please. But our total expenses were up only 12% compared to the same period last year. We're at 4.7 million in April of 2024. This year we're at 5.3 million, so roughly 577,000 difference there overall. And again, this is really where the bread is buttered in terms of keeping those expenses under control. You can see here last year at this point in time, we were knee deep into borrowing to the tune of about 292,000 in fees and interest, to where we are this year, roughly only 78,000. So it's a huge jump of about 73% decline there. Looking at our budget vertically here, we have net income as of April of 243,000, which is lining up nicely to what we have predicted or estimated our net income to be at the end of the year, which is just a little over $500,000. We've received roughly 72% of our budgeted revenues, and we spent roughly 74.3% of our budgeted expenditures through the end of April. Looking at our balance sheet here, our total assets of $1,051,000, and most of that in cash. In terms of our assets, last year at this point in time, we were at 576,000, so a jump of about 474,000. Our liabilities obviously have come way down, some 748,000 there. If you can look here, you can see where last year at this point in time we had receivables sales of about 1.3 million. But again, those are offset here with our lend donate of 984,000 still on the books. And our net income obviously has increased here. You can see last year at this point in time we were down 707,000. This year we're up 243,258. So total net assets here, we're still in a deficit of about 300,000, but compared to where we were last year, we're at 1.5 million in terms of the deficit to the fund balance. So huge improvement overall. And then again, that's all related to, being fiscally conservative, number one, and obviously the growth this year in terms of your overall student numbers, which has generated more revenues, but also at the same time, making sure that expenses are being curtailed and watched closely. Whoa, a little too fast there. As I mentioned, most of our net assets there was cash. Total cash on hand of 988,000. You can see here the various accounts that we have with those amounts in there. 988,000 in April, and then April of last year we were roughly at 532,000. So again, roughly about 50 days of cash on hand, which is a little over a month and a half, month and 10 days or so, or 20 days on hand. Still not out of the woods yet, but again, the idea here is to build upon this each and every month, each and every year in terms of building those reserves to get to a place where we're comfortable in terms of having somewhere between 3 to 6 months of reserves on hand to be able to mitigate any unforeseen expenditures or circumstances that may arise. I will pause here and take questions if there are any. No questions?
Lionel, what was our days of cash on hand last month? No, this is April.
last month.
But I mean the last president. Do you remember?
40 something.
The last board meeting we were.
6 days.
Let's see here. I could tell you really fast.
Something days.
What's in the 40s then?
26 days.
Last board meeting helped me. So that would be April, right?
April 21.
41.92. So now we're at 50. Last month, our cash, or at the end of March, so this was in March, we had 41.92 days of cash, or 826,000. And then this year, obviously, we have, or this month, we have 50 days of cash. So we've increased by about 8 days.
That's another indicator. I mean, that can still ebb and flow, right? But it's certainly an indicator, another indicator going in the right direction.
Absolutely.
Delano, I have a question. It looks like we had an overdraft of 142,000 in our Cathay bank account, checking account. Can you maybe speak to the negative number there?
Yeah, so it's really so the checking and the savings account are tied together there. So it's it's not an overdraft. It was just that we just needed to move that money up to from the savings to the checking account. And for the most part, this was during that period where we were transitioning away from the Cathay account to the Endeavor bank account during that time frame.
What is the current status of the Cathay? Do we still have?
So we're keeping about, I think right now we have about $80,000 in there just to make sure that we can cover any, outstanding things that are coming out of that account if we have any additional bills. So we're planning on closing that account down probably at the end of the summer once we've closed out this entire, the financials for this entire year. But we've very best been working really hard to move all of our, any ACH withdrawals or anything else that we have that's coming out of that account to switch it over to the Endeavor account. So we're anticipating to be able to shut that account down probably at the end of the summer once we close out our.
We anticipated probably a few more months of, I would probably recommend keeping it open, to Amy's point, through the summer just to make sure. But we're really not processing any activities through there. No, we're not cutting any checks against that account or anything. It's just some items were electronically set up or automatic withdrawals are coming out of that account. But we've switched everything over to Endeavor as the main operating account now. So, and that's been there for a while, for at least a month or so.
I just want to make a comment. Notice the revenue grows at 38%, while the expense grows only at a very modest 12%. I mean,
Yes.
You take inflation into account. I mean, I don't know what's the official inflation, 5%, from last year to this year.
I think we're at what, 3.4% or so, somewhere in there right now, based on the current CPI.
Yeah, so if you take that into account, the really kind of the incremental increase or nominal increase is a very small, single digit. We're talking about. So that's really kind of a.
Yes, you can shake that lady's hand to your help me here, to your left. David, Amy really, like I said, has been, she's been a pleasure to work with in terms of, understanding what needed to get done and got the job done in terms of making sure. So really, I can't take credit for it because she is really the boots on it.
Significant growth in enrollment and staff, right? Yeah, but we only keep with expense growing at a single digit. It's not.
Yes.
Tell you.
And that is not easy to do in a school with, almost 600 students and staffing and things like that. So I'm sure she had a tough year in managing all of this. I can only imagine, getting to where we are. And again, it's good news, but I'm sure it came at a cost.
Okay, thank you very much, Delano. We really appreciate your insight and your report out.
Thanks.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to items for discussion and possible action.
Thank you.
We've got A, approve education protection account, EPA 2025-2026 spending plan resolution. Proposition 30 was approved by voters on November 6, 2012, which added Article 13, Section 36 to the California Constitution effective November 7, 2012. The provisions of Article 13, Section 36E create in the state general fund and education protection account to receive and disperse the revenues derived from the incremental increases in taxes imposed by Article 13, Section 36F. All of the monies in the education protection account are continuously appropriated for the support of school districts, county offices of education, charter schools, and community college districts. Monies deposited in the education protection account shall not be used to pay any costs incurred by the legislature, the governor, or any agency of state government. The monies received from the education protection account shall not be used for salaries or benefits for administrators or any other administrative costs. Required that the governing board of the charter school make the spending determinations with respect to monies received from the education protection account in open session of a public meeting of the governing board. LCAP goal action not applicable, funding source not applicable, budget financial impact not applicable. It's recommended the board of directors approve action item A. Any comments?
So this is every year you have to approve a resolution, and then we look at what we spent, our EPA funds on, and then we make a projection of what we're going to spend, those funds on for next year. So you can kind of see the expenditures. Normally we would try to spend all of those, expenses, and we spend all of those, expenses on instructional related costs. So like you said in the blurb, we can't spend it on administrative salaries or anything like that. So it's normally we would spend that either on instructional staff, our IAs, our teachers, or any instructional materials.
Doesn't have an LCAP goal. It's interesting that it doesn't have an LCAP.
It doesn't really have an LCAP goal because it's really just a funding source for us. And then we utilize that. Normally we would utilize that for instructional salaries. So technically, I guess we could tie it to action 1.2, which is our staff our staff action on the LCAP.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve action item.
Thank you, Felipe. I'm happy. All right, Molly seconds. All right, we're gonna do roll call vote. Molly,
Yes.
Felipe,
Yeah.
I'm a yes. David,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
thank you. It passes. Moving next, approve 2025 and 2026 consolidated application. The consolidated application CONAP is used by the California Department of Education CD to distribute categorical funds from various federal programs to local education agencies, LEAs, throughout California. Each LEA must submit the spring release of the CONAP, spring release documents of participation in these programs, and provides assurances that the LEA will comply with the legal requirements of each program. Program entitlements are determined by formulas contained in the laws that created the programs. LCAP goal action, all LCAP goals and actions, funding source, federal title funding, budget financial impact, approximately 50,000 reflected in the 2025-2026 budget.
This is just our application for our federal title funding. And we have applied for, just like this year, Title I, which is for low income students, Title II, which is professional development. Title III is for our English learners. And then Title IV is kind of a catch-all that everybody sort of gets an additional amount of money. This is our application for that.
Thank you. It's recommended the board of directors approve action item B. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to.
All right. Thank you, David. And then Molly seconds. Roll call vote. Molly,
Yes.
Felipe,
Yeah.
I'm a yes. David,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
it passes. Thank you. Next, approve resolution of the Orange County Department of Education to issue funds to charter schools. This resolution allows the Orange County Department of Education to transfer money into the new IA bank account with Endeavor Bank. LCAP goal action not applicable, funding source not applicable, budget financial impact not applicable. It's recommended the board of directors approve action item C. Comments?
So like we were talking about with the new bank account, this just authorizes Orange County Department of Ed to transfer money into our Endeavor account instead of our CAFE account. So further helping to make sure that we're clearing out all that, the CAFE stuff.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to.
All right, Molly, thank you. Thank you, David. Just a second. We'll do roll call vote. Molly,
Yes.
Felipe,
Yes.
I'm a yes. David,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
thank you. It passes. Next item, approved board policy 3260 fees and charges per California Education Code. Sections 49010 to 49011. No student shall be required to pay a fee, deposit, or other charge for participation in an educational activity which constitutes an integral, fundamental part of the school's educational program, including curricular and extracurricular activities. This board policy outlines these regulations and instances where fees or charges may be implemented. LCAP goal action not applicable, funding source not applicable, budget financial impact not applicable. Board policy requirement, recommended board policy.
So this policy just basically outlines what different things that parents can be charged fees for and what things that parents can't. We can't charge fees for any instructional related textbooks or things like that. And so we also providing some staff training and adding this policy on our website and in our handbooks.
Okay, thank you. Recommend the board of directors approve action item D. Is there a motion? I'm happy to make the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, David. We'll do roll call vote. Molly,
Yes.
Felipe,
Yes.
I'm a yes. David,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
thank you. It passes. Next, approve the proposed board meeting calendar for 2025-2026 for the IA bylaws. The IA Board of Directors must adopt a regular board meeting schedule at its annual meeting. This schedule should ensure compliance to education code approval dates for items such as the LCAP and budget. LCAP goal action not applicable, funding source not applicable, budget financial impact not applicable. It's recommended the board of directors approve action item E. Any comments?
So we sort of stuck with what we've been doing this year with kind of the third Tuesday of each month. It actually worked out well with the different holidays so that we didn't have to really move it around. So it would kind of line up with the third Tuesday of each month.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Felipe. Is there a second? Thanks, Molly. Okay, roll call vote. Molly,
Yes.
Felipe,
Yes.
I'm a yes. David,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes,
thank you. It passes. Next item, approve the IA Governance Handbook. IA Governance Handbook was created by the Governance Committee and reviewed during the February 25th, 2025 board study session. The Governance Handbook will provide information for onboarding new board members, as well as a reference guide for current board members and leadership. LCAP goal action not applicable, funding source not applicable, budget financial impact not applicable. Recommended the board of directors approve action item.
This is the same one we talked about last board meeting, and that you guys we had the study session on, and so I provided a clean copy of that as well.
Is there a motion?
I make a motion.
Thank you, Felipe. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
second.
I'll just give it to them.
Miller's got it. We'll roll call Molly,
Yes.
Felipe.
Yes.
I'm a yes. David,
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
It passes. Approve the extension of board term for Brett Freeman for one additional year. The IA bylaws state that each director shall hold office unless otherwise removed from office in accordance with these bylaws for 4 years and until a successor director has been designated and qualified on an annual basis. The board may extend the term of an existing director for an additional year by majority vote. LCAP goal action not applicable, funding source not applicable, budget financial impact not applicable. It's recommended the board of directors approve action item G.
And you will have to abstain.
I will recuse my vote. Any other comments?
Gonna make a comment.
Yeah.
Is there a motion?
Let me make a comment.
Okay.
Yeah, I would really love to have Brad stay on the board. That because he really kind of ever since he takes over from Doug, president of the board to provide very good leadership. Very good organizational skills and how to stay on the board. So I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Molly. We'll do roll call vote. Molly,
Yes.
Felipe?
Very good. Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna recuse. I'm gonna abstain. David,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
it passes. Moving on to the next item, approve the election of IA Board Officer President. Each year, the IA Board of Directors holds an annual meeting to elect officers for the school year. These officer positions include Board President, Secretary, and Treasurer. Officer positions will rotate every 2 years unless 51% of the board votes to keep an officer in his/her position for an additional year. LCAP rule action not applicable, funding source not applicable, budget financial impact not applicable. Is there a nomination for a president?
I nominate Brett Lee. The president.
Thank you. So
I'm in the third.
Felipe is a first, Molly is a second. We'll do roll call and I will abstain. Molly,
Yes.
Felipe,
Yes.
recuse. David,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
it passes. Approve the election of the IA Board Officer Secretary. Is there a clarification? We want to make sure the roles are clear. Current secretary.
The current secretary is Felipe.
Okay. So, is there a nomination for a secretary? I nominate Felipe.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Molly,
Yes.
Felipe will recuse. I'm a yes. David,
Yes.
Miller.
Of course, yes.
Thank you. It passes. Approve election of the IA Board Officer Treasurer. The current treasurer is David.
Yes.
I nominate David as the treasurer.
Thank you. Molly,
Yes.
Felipe,
Yes.
I'm a yes. I will recuse. Miller,
Yes.
okay, that passes.
So I'm gonna be the money guy.
Yep, again.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on to the Executive Director's report.
I have reported a lot, so I'm going to cede my executive director's report to our new executive director to make some comments instead.
Thank you. So it's officially day 4. It's been a great week and transition. Just to share some of the things that have happened is I really going on a listening tour, as I shared as part of that 90-day plan. I had the opportunity to meet with our 8th grade class to talk to them and really learn more about IIA culture from their perspective. That was like the highlight of my week. I love students. It was really fun. They're a great group. Had many one-on-one meetings with our directors, our staff members. I'm meeting with grade levels of teachers starting tomorrow. I was able to attend my first day, coffee with the principal, school site council, PTO, so met with a lot of parent groups that way. So it's been a great transition and wanted to share that with you. Also, I wanted to thank our PTO and other parent sponsors for hosting. We're on day 2 of a wonderful teacher appreciation week. We've had quite the menu, and I know that Felipe was a parent sponsor for today's lunch, our Taco Tuesday with your wife, but we had some Asian food for lunch yesterday. There's also been breakfast of bagels. Tomorrow is Italian food. Our PTO also, I thought this was wonderful on Monday, hosted games for our staff. And you could hear the laughter and the fun that our staff were having on their lunch break while they were participating in these just fun games of stacking things and throwing balls. And it really made my heart happy to see that type of a culture. So it's been a great 4 days. I look forward to many more. And that's it for my report.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to the Board of Directors reports.
Yeah, I want to comments. I mean, today, actually, I'm very, very glad to see a lot of parents that showed up, and it's a little bit, more than what I normally see. I'm very glad. I think there are a lot of, I'm sitting here, I heard a lot of comments. Okay, just to make me think, I'm gonna keep it just the capture, taking notes. I got a lot of the stuff, and I think some of the parents talk about transparency issues. Okay, several parents talk about transparency. I think we got to take it seriously. And the other issues to talk about the sex education materials. Okay. I'm a parent. My 2 kids that used to be here, and she was just several months ago. Okay. I share some of the concern. I also know there's a state of California regulations. We got to find the right balance and make sure some of the materials so we can meet the requirement, state requirements well, to the extent that we can, and make sure it's as appropriate as possible. And so I suggest, next board meeting we should have an agenda. Add agenda. Discuss this, address all these issues raised by the parents, transparency and sex education materials. We should have a review, have the materials review, and consult with some professionals, including lawyers, make sure we don't step out of the boundary. And to the extent that we can, and address all these concerns. That'll be my suggestion. The other issue, take-home message is kind of as a communication channel. To me, I think we have a PTO. I think that PTO can function as a good bridge between the parents and the school administration. And if some of the issues cannot be addressed or have failed to be addressed by the school administration, there should be a channel. Some of the issues should be, we can discuss it here, the board meeting, but proper way, and it should be proposed in advance. Give the board some time to think about it, to respond. But that'll be my comments. Feedback.
Thank you.
I agree with what David said. Yeah. So I agree, and I also thank the parents coming here. I hope all the parents know that you are free to come. We always have more chairs. It's not, so only if you want to have comments, and then you need to let us know ahead of time, but you are welcome to come in here. So I hope, if you're in PTO, just let parents know, So that's the way we feel like we're very transparent. We open, we want you to know what's going on. So first I want to thank the parents. I can tell that, definitely there's room for us to improve our communication. And also I think maybe, because I talked to some of the parents during the year, this is the year that I actually spent more coming in, talk to some of the parents. And some of them basically say, they don't know how the teacher will feel, the administrator will feel, and I told them that it's fine, As an educator myself, I totally would like to have parents come and talk to me, but some parents said that they just, maybe culturally, they just feel like. So I even told them that, maybe you just drop a note or I like a comment box. Some parents don't feel comfortable, let people know who they are. But if they can just remember, then we can try to address it. Let them know that their words being heard. And I also today, Dr. Kernan and Leonardo mentioned, kind of like go through the LCAP, the school progress, and we're towards the end. We only have a couple minutes left. So I have to say, I'm just so happy to be on the board. I'm so happy to see the improvement. I knew about the school at the very beginning. And then later on when I step into, and I saw the progress, especially this year, maybe with the parents, some of you, we see it from a different angle, but I see all that is in progress. But definitely, I think there's room for us to improve our communication and so continue to let us know. But at the same time, I think there's some things that as this on the school board, from the school point of view, we also have to think about the big picture. But I think with communication, there are ways that we can, come to the center and agree and respect each other. So thank you, Dr. Kernan, especially the finance situation. I mentioned this many times. I don't really know finance that well. I learned a lot this year. And yes, so I know it's not easy for us to get into our position. So thank you for your hard work. Thank you for finding the grants and finding money here and there to save. Thank you so much.
Don't break, this is brand new, right? Don't break it. Right? Okay, good. Oh, it's not even on. Oh, man. Okay, you should have started with that. So.
You bought it.
Oh, yes, it looks expensive too.
That's how I save money.
Yeah. Well, good. I appreciate that. So I want to, of course, welcome Stephanie here onto the school. Welcome to the party, like I always say. I'm glad to see you hit the floor running because there's a lot going on. We're certainly not the small school we were a long time ago. We're actually blowing and going. So, and next year, I'm glad to see that you're looking into this year for next year, right? And there's a lot of activity going on there. So I appreciate that. And Amy, thank you for all your hard work there as it applies to the budget. And because that's certainly been a huge point of contention. I think I mentioned earlier that when I close my eyes, I still see the 2 years ago, right? And what that looked like, because this is the spot where we're at, where Delano kind of promised us many years ago, right? He promised us that this day would come, and so I'm so good. Just wait every month to hear that we're on the right track. And like you said, reducing the cost, right? Is really actually single digit, right? If you factor in inflation, stuff like that. So thank you very much, because I know that's a lot of work. As far as the public comments, there's, I won't repeat what you said because it's all true and I support that. But there's a couple of them in there that I'm very concerned with that I'd like to get. When you look at them, Stephanie, because you're going to look at them very closely, right? There's two in particular that I'd like to get feedback on, or at least be a little bit more involved in. One is that little boy that got hurt, the one that got hurt, and it's an ongoing issue. I'd like to know more about what was going on there if you can, because I'm just concerned about our students, obviously, and also the teachers' complaints, because I've been here 4 years and the first year. It's the first time that I've heard teachers' complaints, and I am very pro-teacher. So if they're rise to the level of complaining,
I want to know what the outcome of that is, once you do your little investigation. I'm sure you'll hear from me in the future, okay? But everything else looks great. Thank you for everybody, the teachers, the staff, the PTO, everything, and it reflects totally on, the entire school culture. The last month we had the main dance, you don't get that kind of energy without a school that's definitely positive and going in the right direction. And, so, yeah, I'm really happy that this is finally going in the right direction. We'd like to see. Talk to you more. I'll talk to you more.
Yeah, I just want to add one more comment because I noticed, the reason why we now become a cash flow positive or almost a cash flow positive, at least from net income standpoint, 500,000, right? And net income doesn't necessarily mean cash flow. The bigger drivers are really the reduction of the loan interest. I really appreciate you did that because I was a strong proponent 2 years ago. I pushed to have a low interest rate loan, and you made it happen. I really appreciate that.
So it was hard.
Yeah, because if we were still paying high interest rate, there's no way we're gonna be cash flow positive. I'm very, very glad that you structure a deal and bring the interest down to that level. More desirable level than double digit.
But in defense
Appreciate
of,
that.
anybody predecessor, it wasn't tough to find those opportunities to be able to lower that.
David, you could have donated this.
For him to talk.
Miller, did you want to say something?
Yes. I would like to express my thank you for all of you as a board member, your contribution, your leadership, and then also your devotion for the ultimate goal of IIA. Since the beginning that I see that, and then this is my probably what I call not the countless longest meeting, is only the number 4, the longest meeting that I attend in the board meeting. So that means say that I would thank the whole community of the IIA that for all this year, the parents' contribution, and then also the teachers' contribution, and then also the leadership contribution makes us to move so forward in so many ways. So I thank you, and especially this year, that out of all the comments that the parents may or the public may, I would just say that I know my deepest thank to Amy for all this collective effort, and also collecting all this information allow us to go forward for more transparency. So this is the task that we're making forward. So I thank you, and then especially the first F that I would just say financially that it's proven that for the whole year you're hardworking with the board, and then to make that making sure that the school on the safe side, on the really what they call a cash flow without worry, and then also that not to waste money. And then I think Amy, you probably has a Chinese what they call culture, because Chinese don't like to borrow money; they like to save money. So I think the school that going forward with a very strong foundation is really that how we manage money, where the monies are, and then where our hearts are. So this is a great proof for our leadership. And then the second, I think, yes, we probably will deal with the curriculum, the selection of the curriculum, but we're also facing the current challenge that if we're school not to teach, then depends on the parents to teach the sex education. That is also very crucial because the public information is overwhelming. So, and then we have to guard that, but at the same time, we need to balance the concern of the parents, but also concern of the growth of the children, that to learn the proper way. Yes, that's not easy easy decisions. But I would say in the process that we're going through and then test that what material we're going to use. It needs the wisdom and patience. And then I thank the parents that voice out your concern. But at the same time, that I would say, as David suggests, we need to spend time together to work out what's the best solutions for IIA. So I would just say we have a great hope of the future that because we are not just say blame to each other or accuse each other, but we are supporting each other. Let's work together along the way that we become relational and friendly approach rather than I had an experience that being attacked that will be a very very forceful. So then that way it will not easy to make the transition or transparency. So thank you so much for all this is happening, and I enjoy every meeting that we are putting together. So last but not the least, I just wish IIA can be the outstanding school for the whole state that what we in practice. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Miller. Okay, I have several items. First, I would like to say thank you again to the parents and to all those that submitted public comments. I hope that we can all continue to respect each other and treat each other with civility and treat each other as we would want to be treated ourselves. We're all here for the same reason, which is to support the kids. So we hope that is clear. We're available to you. And we make ourselves accessible, so please feel free to reach out. Next, I would like to highlight the oversight report because I think that's really important to mention, Dr. Kernan. And I know we work and we stand on the shoulders of those before us that have done great things too. But I would say that the report that came out was very impressive and spoke very highly regarding IIA. We know that there are areas for improvement and we will continue to improve, but you should take a bow for that because you definitely spearheaded it along with our Principal Schmitter, our staff, and all those that contributed. And we especially thank the families for being so supportive of the school. I would like to welcome Dr. Henry officially. Thank you for your participation and thank you for taking charge and helping us to address so many of these items. I think we all care about making IIA a better school. I would like to thank the PTO and all those that attended the May Dance. That was phenomenal. So much fun. Thank you, Felipe, for emceeing and for bringing so much entertainment to the evening. And we loved your outfit. Quite fantastic. So thank you to all those involved. I would like to thank the board for your time, for volunteering, and for your support and confidence in me. I appreciate it. Thank you for your roles. We do it as a team. Lastly, I do have an announcement. The IIA board would like to announce that board member Miller has chosen not to have his board seat renewed. His additional year term is expiring at the end of this June. I would like to personally extend a thank you to Miller for being a founding board member of IIA and for his involvement in the school. He has a big heart, very, very, very big heart for the school. And we thank him deeply for his many years of service. So Miller, this is not goodbye, right? It's until next time. And obviously we have another board meeting, but I just wanted to say thank you to you and make it publicly known how much you have done for this school.
You're still welcome on campus.
You're welcome.
Campus.
But check in first.
I will. Always in my heart.
In addition, we would like to announce the opening up of one of the board seats. There is an online application that can be found on the homepage of our website.
It will be next bar, because you had to.
Yep. The application period will open on Wednesday, May 21st, and will close by end of day Wednesday, June 4th. The governance committee will submit a written suggestion to the board of directors regarding which candidates should be moved forward for interview at least 30 days prior to the board meeting when interviews will occur. The governance committee will nominate candidates based on a set of criteria determined through the survey recently taken of current board member strengths and areas of needed support expertise. Prior to voting for any new board member, interviews of qualified board candidates are to take place during the open session of the July board meeting. More than one round of interviews may be necessary and may take place over multiple board meetings. During the board meeting, a motion for a vote on a particular candidate must be made in order to vote on that candidate. An affirmative vote by 51% of current board members that are present at a quorum-filled board meeting will appoint the new board member. If no motion is made, there would be no vote. So that will go public tomorrow.
Tomorrow, actually, as a
Widget?
a widget.
Yeah.
On the home screen of our webpage. So anybody who's interested will be able to access that. Right up.
So sending out a communication
Yeah, yes.
to all families and the community that has the same information.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Any other comments? So, moving on to adjournments, recommend the board adjourn the regular meeting of the Irvine International Academy Board of Directors on May 20th, 2025. Is there a motion? Thank you, David. Is there a second?
Second.
Molly got you there.
Okay.
Roll call vote, Molly?
Yes.
Felipe?
Yeah.
I'm a yes. David?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Board meeting adjourns 9:29 p.m.
Just a reminder that our next board meeting is not June 17th, it has been moved to June 10th.
Thank you.